Just fucking do it. Subscribe now.
As I said in the last match, never underestimate how wrong you can be. And you turned to me and said, he doesn't want to wear a headgear. That's probably a bad sign. And so I said, yeah, that probably is a bad sign. Okay. And I thought it was the beginning of rope-a-dope when you were, pounding on him, and then kind of popped his head up and knocked you down. But it's not dissimilar. I said it during Rich's and Gabriel's talk that many of the people that you're going to be seeing and visiting, they're only doing one thing. They're allowing you to kick the tires so they can see how much their business is worth. That's the only. And in the beginning, you're going to have trouble. Peter Harasti was asked a couple of times, what signs did you see? Or what signs would you know? And he says, there probably were signs, but I was too naive or unsophisticated to realize they were just jerking me around. Now, somebody that's been around the block like me, I know in, if not seconds, minutes, by the kinds of questions they're asking. And remember, if they're QuickBooks or whatever reasonable facsimile of QuickBooks that you get in the initial stages, and their tax returns, 3-year tax returns, aren't plus or minus 10% the same. Now, I know this is hard for you to do. You don't have the meeting. You just walk away. And I'm just telling you, you won't walk away. I wish I was doing reverse psychology, because you won't. Because you're so desperate to do a deal, and you think wrongfully that, because he's going to tell you how good the numbers are going to be next year. We're not buying companies, even at ridiculously low prices, embarrassing prices, on projections. We're buying it on trailing earnings. And all of you, some of you in this room have already bought companies on projections and they haven't worked out. It's a lot easier to eliminate that phase and not talk to people on projections. And just as you're not going to buy people on projections, when you get around to doing even a partial exit, nobody's going to buy you on future earnings. And this is really important. When you're trying to do a recapitalization, when you're trying to pull money out and do a partial exit, the banks aren't going to buy your projections either. All that we're going to see is what are your trailing 36 months. And that's it. And so you should get used to not accepting promises for the future. Because 9 times out of 10, they're not going to happen, and all you're going to do is waste time. Waste time. The QLA seminar is not just a seminar. It is a blueprint for creating generational wealth as fast as humanly possible. I teach you how to turn nothing into millions, billions, and even trillions. If you want to take control of your life, to create a legacy that lasts for generations, the time is now. Do not wait for the right moment. The right moment is this moment. Be bold, be selfish, be ruthless, and take no prisoners. I will still do seminars, but I won't be able to do this forever. Act now or not at your own peril. Thank you very much. Now, I've spent a lot of time with the most important person in your life, second to your mother, or maybe not even second to your mother, who born you, is the chairman that's going to take care of you. And this is the kind of person you need for your chairman. There you are, going to be eaten up by the world, and there comes your chairman. And then he rallies the rest of the board, which are all cunts. Okay, and here comes your board. And then all of a sudden your boys got balls. But if the chairman doesn't step forward, they'll leave you to die in the gutter. They'll leave you to die in the gutter. And this is your chairman. And I can't emphasize it enough. If you don't have that person to step forward, you're going through this exercise and spending a lot of money for naught. Or you're teeing it up. You're putting the ball on the tee on the golf course for them. You're teeing up the acquisition for them, and you'll get fucked. And I didn't pound on this as much 30 years ago because it hadn't happened to me 500 times 30 years ago. But now I've been through it, and you've heard. In the beginning, you came to the seminar. At the very beginning, it was one day. You didn't get any slides. You didn't get any scripts. You got fuck all, nothing. And in the 90s and the early 2000s, we had a lot of success. Because as Peter attested to, is that they were more motivated. They were more hungry. And now, as Dan Locke said, he came to the seminar in 2012-ish with Bruce Whipple as a refresher. He said, the only thing you don't do for him, Dan, is do the deal, sign the deal for him. And he asked at that group, I don't ask it anymore, Dan will do your first deal, but he's going to take 98%. You know how many people say yes? Almost everyone. That's not what I'm training you for. I made the decision 30 plus years ago to not compete with you. We sold all our stock portfolio and that kind of stuff because I don't want to compete with you. All the other guys compete with you. I don't. I don't compete nor sell you anything. Because if I compete with you, I can assure you who's going to win. No matter who you have for chairman. And so I want to, give you the best benefit to keep you in the saddle until you at least do a partial exit. Once you do a partial exit, you're not free and clear because you're never free and clear. But once you do a total exit, quite often they come back and I talk to them and then they decide they want to do a second roll-up or a third roll-up. And we have some people that are like Jason Nagy, who are now is attempting or not attempting because he'll complete it, his sixth roll-up because he's had 5 exits in 10 years. And that's the way the plan is. Or Anelli, who's building a legacy, has had no exits. And he's built a conglomerate in the African continent worth in excess of $1 billion. But I told you before lunch, and I don't know if anybody Googled the website for the UK, the government website for the UK, or the government website for the United States, or Singapore for that matter. I've never known anybody that did a deal in Singapore. And he sits real quietly, and he doesn't say anything. And but everybody, and up until the Russian fiasco here, with him invading Ukraine, etc., Russia had a website. Now it wasn't exactly straight because a lot of people paid to get the bids, and the bids with 40, 50, 60% margin went to the oligarch or friends of the oligarchs. And having trained some of the oligarchs, and now, as I said, I think I mentioned the first night, they're exiting Russia because they know that Putin is running out of runway. He also supposedly has bowel cancer. I don't know if that's any truth in that. But, how long you live with bowel cancer. And normally you don't come back from bowel cancer. I'm told, not that I'm an expert, it's not like some of the other cancers that are, you're redeemable, so more or less. But the chairman is it. And when you, vis-a-vis government contracts, and when you have a 4-star general and a couple of admirals, you got an ex-senator or this and that, or an ex-mayor, it's not a guarantee that you're going to be able to do business in government contracts. And as Goomba Brothers Sr. said, you're not going to hit home runs, but you get a lot of base hits. And as he pointed it very appropriately, you'll get a reputation, and then pretty soon, I'm not sure they bid government contracts anymore because people call them. We put a bid on this because we know that you're going to perform. And as I alluded to before lunch, a lot of people don't perform on the government contracts. Just as a lot of people don't perform on this, even though it's pretty simple. And you've heard more than once, the board's easy. It may not be easy in your mind, but once you get over and you start to believe, as Jason, the other brother, said, being uncomfortable, I mean, it's pretty easy. And everybody said so far that the motherfucker is managing these fucking things. And while you may not think, and Alex can attest to it, he's sitting right here, you can lead them to water, you can stand on the fucking head, but that doesn't mean they're going to drink the water. They'll come up with some fucked up idea, and they'll go off on a tangent. And that's why in the beginning, it's better that you have on the hub and spoke that your acquisitions are by the hub, so you're not days away. One of the biggest lessons that Andreas, and I'm his chairman, full disclosure, had to learn that he had acquisitions from Leipzig to Munich in Germany, and even though theoretically that could be covered on a hub and spoke, unless somebody was around to see the management teams for every one of the 38 units now, it was like a lost continent. It was like discovering King Kong on an island when you come into town, because they forgot everything you told them from the week before. And so now we have 4 regional managers, and we have a manager for every one of the installations. Plus, we've cut the country up into 4 slices, and a regional manager. And their bonuses and their salaries and their compensation, KPIs, etc., are based on weekly numbers. And before we thought, I didn't think, but Andres thought that he could get away with quarterly numbers. Well, I mean, a lot of shit can go wrong in a quarter. And so now he's gone from quarterly numbers to monthly numbers to weekly numbers. And even people can fuck something up in a week. I see you on a Tuesday and I'm back next Monday. I mean, you can change the whole complexion of a business unit. And we've seen the business units. And although in Germany it's not easy to fire people, it just isn't, unless you have the right kind of contract. And the last thing I'm going to talk about today is the right kind of contract, and that you adhere in almost any country, and it's within the contract law. The easiest thing to do, we're just about to hire a interim COO for 3 months. Now, this guy gets paid about $500,000 a year, and he's not interested in 3 months. But, I mean, those positions are very transitional. And so, and he's made several demands on the company. Okay, fine. We wanted to give him a 1-month contract, which we knew was a no-go. But he settled on a 3 months contract. And if you finish the 3 months, based on the numbers you've blown smoke about, we'll give you that extra 20% this, that extra week vacation this. Okay. Now, to date, I've been doing this 33 years. Nobody's ever fulfilled like they promised for 90 days. They've come close, but close only counts in horseshoes. Okay, they've come close, but they haven't fulfilled it. And so then the next contract you give them is for a year. If they get for the 3 months, and you should be able to tell, you and your board should be able to tell, if the guy got through 90 days, he's probably going to get through a year. There's no guarantees. But if he gets through a year and 90 days, then, I mean, if you make a mistake in hiring the wrong person, either he or she was a great actor, or, I mean, you allowed them to not fulfill the bonus system. And the best bonus systems are systems that I get you to agree to. You sign off on it. You decide how you're going to get paid commission, and then you leave the part about run like a thief in the night out. But, and so they're on the hook because they committed. And the contract, unlike a term sheet, the contract, you go through line by line. And you have them initial 4 corners of each page, and you have them initial every sentence. Do you understand that sentence? Especially if English isn't their first language. Okay. And so you're doing everything but wrapping them up in masking tape. And that doesn't work 100% of the time. But there's a reason, and I told you the first night, that Google and those kind of companies have 13, 14, 15 interviews. It's two reasons. Number one, most of the people interviewing for the jobs are inexperienced, and they don't want to take the responsibility of saying Alex is good or Alex is bad. So they have 13, 14, or 15 people. Not everybody gets to the 15th interview. Some get hired at 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th. And I love to tell the story about Josh Kim when he was 18 years old, and he moved to Washington, D.C., and he took the only asset he had was a 15-speed bicycle. I didn't know they had bicycles at 15 speed. And he left a message on his mother's phone. I'm moving from home to Washington, Silicon Valley because I want to be near my chairman. Mr. Peña says that I should be near my chairman. He had no income. So he stayed in a YMCA the first couple of nights, which was $15, $20 YMCA. And he's reading the internet, etc. And he saw that Google was interviewing for a programmer. And he studied from Thursday afternoon till Monday afternoon when the interview was Tuesday morning. And he taught himself how to program over a 4-day weekend. And he got a senior programming job at Google that at that time paid about $85,000 a year. And that's how he worked his way and was able to support himself. Okay. As it turned out, it didn't work out with his chairman. He went through 23 board directors, 3 chairmen, 3 CEOs, 5 CFOs, et cetera, 23. And he had asked me to be his chairman, but I didn't want to because I thought I saw talent, and I didn't want his success to be given to me. I don't need any more accolades. And so, but 23 people he went through on the board. And does the bank care? No. After you do your first 2 or 3 deals, he also looked 15 years old. And when he turned 18, he wasn't till he was 20 that anybody asked him about his age. Now, we have the reverse challenge here because won't have anybody because you look older than you are. Nobody's going to ask you your age, okay? And the rest of you guys are long in the tooth. So nobody's going to think that you're too young to do this. But a lot of the kids, worry about that, but they don't ask that. All they know is performance. And I still remember after he did his 5th or 6th deal, Kim says it's an emergency. I don't take calls. It's an emergency. It's Josh Kim. I don't take calls. So finally, she shows me a piece of paper, and it said, and I never mentioned it to him again, and he never mentioned it to me. And about the same time frame, because I still don't believe Josh Kim could do this when he was 16, 17, 18 years old. Didn't go to high school. He was a homeschool. And so I said that it was around Christmas time, and we were staying at in Washington, D.C. And I said, do you think we could come and have a Christmas drink with your family? Because I wanted to see it with my own eyes. So I could sell the story even harder, okay? I sold the story, the kid's legs should have fallen off. I bragged about him so much. So we went to his house, and on the way there, we're in a limo, and I'm saying, Sally, I said, don't be disappointed, Dan. I mean, he can't be all this. Like you tell everybody. So far, so good. So we get there, and his mother had just had their 10th kid, the family kid. Okay, she was a PhD that had read the book that I tell you to get about raising babies, etc. And his father was a West Point graduate who was getting ready to retire from the military after 25 years. His last job his dad had, he was in charge of the war room at the Pentagon. Okay? And at that time, everybody was worried about Kim, the president of North Korea, rattling his sword. No relation because Josh is half Korean, his dad's Korean. So his 19-year-old sister opens the door, and she was just off to do some charity work. And we walk into the living room. It was like a movie set. They were bunched in 3 kids per group. The 6-year-old was teaching the 4-year-old and 2-year-old with their homework. The 11-year-old was teaching the 9-year-old and 8-year-old. And they're bunched in the living room doing their homework. Now, they said afterwards that was a setup to show you, but that's what they did every night. So I'm sitting there. There's no alcohol in the house. So there was some cider of some sort. So they got me a glass of cider. I'm sitting in the living room. And they had pet rabbits. And if you ever raise rabbits, rabbits shit little pellets. 1 million of them, you know. So I'm sitting in front of the fireplace, and the rabbit squats and craps about 30 or 40 rabbit pellets shit. So I'm figuring the model's going to break down here. And then Sally says, look right. The 4-year-old stops teaching the 2 and the 1-year-old, goes over and gets a handheld vacuum cleaner. You know, I see him, and vacuums the rabbit shit up. Dumps the rabbit shit in the fireplace, puts the vacuum cleaner back, and then goes back to teaching his 2 younger brother and sister. I said, I took the 19-year-old into the kitchen. I needed another glass of cider. What I needed was morphine. And I said, is this the real shit? And she said, oh, yeah, we're on our best behavior because my mother said not to use any swear words. So you swear? Oh, yeah, we slip. Yeah, but, you know, but we also do Bible study every day. And who swears the most? And he said, the same little guy, the rabbit shit up, has the foulest mouth. Okay. And so now we take a limo to go back to have dinner in Washington, D.C. And Sally and I are in one limo, and I had another limo driving. The mother and the father, I didn't know the mother was going to bring her infant baby that she was breastfeeding to a restaurant with white gloves in downtown D.C. So we get there, and they're saving the table for us. And Sally said, they must drug the kids. They must do something. This is not possible. So we get to the restaurant, and the maitre d' comes up to me, and she's breastfeeding the kid at the table. Now, this is not the kind of restaurant you breastfeed kids. It just isn't. And he asked me, and I said, what am I going to tell her? Not to breastfeed the kid? And I probably should have, but I didn't. So Josh gets up to allegedly go to the bathroom. And so the mother and the father and I have a conversation. And the father said, my biggest concern is, you know, he's got raging hormones. You know, what is he going to do? In other words, where is he going to stick his dick? You know? And then one of the greatest faux pas I've ever committed, and I don't admit to too many faux pas, is I told him to use hookers. Now she's breastfeeding this kid, and all of a sudden she jerks up like this, and I think the kid must have bit her. And the mother's never talked to me since. Okay, and then the father, though, the West Pointer, says that's what I think is the right thing, is for him to buy his sex, at least for now. And now he's since retired from the military, and he's in business, probably wrongfully, with his son Josh. But I told him to use hookers. But the family's for real. When he proposed to his wife, this is Josh, the kid, when he was, he came back for his 21st birthday to a seminar. Okay, and then shortly thereafter, he brought his fiancée here to propose to her for marriage. He proposed to her in the wall garden up there, and the future mother-in-law was there, and we're in the library, which some of you have seen now and some of you haven't. And I tell them then, the mother-in-law, future mother-in-law, the future bride, and Josh. Oh, he's going to be late? Okay, good. Not good, but okay. I said, I'm against the marriage. She and he have known each other since they're 7 and 8 years old, respectively, Bible study. And that's no basis for a marriage. And he doesn't know what to expect in the next 3 or 4 or 5 years. I know what he's going to endure. And this young girl, and she looked about 8. She was 17 or 18. It's not something to put the pressure on a new marriage, let alone an old marriage. And then we went out to dinner, and I sung the same thing. Sally was still kicking me under the table to tell me to shut up. And they're divorced now, okay? They made it to a little less than 4 years, and we went to their wedding. He rented the entire Ritz-Carlton on Waikiki Beach, the entire hotel. And a windstorm came up, and it was blowing shit down, and I said, this is an omen. Sally and I had the honeymoon suite overlooking the beach, and there was about an hour after the wedding and the reception, and I've asked people this jokingly. When people tell you open bar, what does that mean to you? Thank you. So open bar, well, they're Bible thumpers and nobody drinks. When they said open bar, they meant the bar was open. So Sally and I were first in line, as we normally are, but I saw him counting change, $5 bills, $10, and I didn't understand if it's an open bar, why is the guy making change? And so we were first in line, and then we found out that it was open to the public or to the people that attended the wedding, and there was going to be no wine or alcohol with the meal. So Sally and I bought 2 bottles of wine at the bar, and then Sally made me carry them into the reception, and there were no ice buckets and shit. So our ice bucket, 2 ice buckets, we put on the ground between Sally and I at the head table because Sally didn't want to show people that we were drinking. And I was not scheduled to make a speech, but much to the chagrin of the mother, and she hadn't talked to me in 3 or 4 years, we'd like Mr. Peña, Josh's mentor, that's responsible for this, and obviously we couldn't afford to pay for this, and to say a few words. And so she's sitting about where you're sitting, young lady, and I shook my head no, and I said, and then Sally went up to her and said, "Are you sure? Are you really sure you want Dan to talk?" Oh, she said, "Oh, yes. I know we've been at odds with one another, since he made that comment at dinner a few years ago, but the only reason we're here is because of Dan taught him, So I took the mic, and I talked about 10, 11 minutes, and I started by saying, as I normally do, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is an event that should not be happening. Neither one of the couple are ready to get married, and neither one of the couple nor their parents understand what they're about to go through, that dual reality I talked about. And I'm supportive. And I'm happy that I was able to show him how he can pay for renting I didn't say fucking, but the fucking Ritz-Carlton in Hawaii. But I find it strange that my wife and I were in the honeymoon suite, not them. And they stayed married 2-3 years, and they were separated a year. And now they're divorced. They're divorced. When I tell you there's not going to be April on the calendar this year, you can bet all your money there's not going to be fucking April. Because I do tell you what the Lord knows. Not that I have any direct conduit, because I've done these and that thousands of times. Thousands of times. So for those of you that are engaged, planning marriage, cancel it. For those of you that are considering separation, get separated. Because you'll never weather the storm. That's a bridge too far. And as the Viking bitch has said, and I told somebody at dinner either last night or the night before, your wives and or husbands didn't sign up for this. Didn't sign up for this prolonged agony. Because it takes a huge amount of human sacrifice. Now, boxing, pugilism. Originally, this was set up for me to box a bunch of guys back in the 90s. But cold calling is not as bad as getting in the ring. Okay, a couple of you, and this is the only time we haven't had an injury. If there's an injury, I don't know about it yet. Don't tell me. I don't want to know. But I mean, needless to say that a number of you need to work on your cardiovascular. Okay, meaning that you essentially don't have any. But it's been popular. We've had the grandson of King Saud in that ring, amongst others, and he's famous on my Facebook. He's the Muslim-looking guy or dark-skinned looking guy that throws a punch and misses it by about 2 feet. He misses the guy by about 2 feet, and that's the grandson of the King of Saudi Arabia. And we've had some fairly famous people here. In the old days, we had a different kind of ring. It was the kind of ring that was elevated. And how you see people in the movies or in fighting, they dive under the rope, to get into the ring. Well, we had two or three injuries where they dive into the pole, knock themselves out. I mean, And so then when we took it down during Corona, then we put it back up. We have a miniature, not miniaturized, but a downsized ring and a ring that's on the ground. Okay, so you can just easily step through. Now, the guy that was the referee is my boxing coach. Okay, and his record is 145-3 or 148-3, something like that. But that's only good, and he missed out going to the Olympics because he was number 4 on the team, and he enjoys refereeing our deals. I'm sure he enjoys the money that I pay him to referee the deals more, but he's a good guy. And so, but apparently we don't have anybody hurt this time, which I'm very pleased to announce. What are your comments about the boxing? For most of you watched it. Yes, sir.
I overestimated and accidentally oversold to the others my abilities.
Okay, you may be wrong, but never in doubt. And I thought we were going to have to call the paramedics for you for oxygen. We have oxygen here. Yeah, and so, but it's a good experience. You're better off, and I always enjoy. Now, there's no correlation for how successful you were or how unsuccessful you were in the ring with that wall. Okay, I've already told you we only have 1 6-pack up there, and he happens to be extremely fit. But it's good camaraderie. Now, you'll notice, if you haven't already noticed, from the first night to the second night, and now this is the third night, you're going to get all chummy now. It's like nobody ever wanted me in a fraternity, so I don't know what that's like. But I'm told, you're going to get all bosom buddies now and be talking more freely and, about your experiences in life. That's not what this is. This is not a networking deal. But you will, and I hate to use the word bonding, but you will have bonded more, even if you didn't box, and seeing that. And that's why we alternate, and you're going to eat in the pub the next 2 nights, because there's an exchange of more information between you about what you do at life and what your son does, or your son's here, so you just look down the table, and there he is. And so we've worked it out that that's the best, but we will continue to do it. And it's now, they're already speculating, my lawyers, and I don't box because I can't get covered with insurance anymore, but when it's just a hologram here talking to you, whether you're going to box at all, So we'll see. If there's a hologram here, it means I'm not. So by definition, I won't be seeing you. And some of you will think I'm looking up from hell, and some of you, more aspirational, think I'll be looking down. All my Catholic guys and gals, I'm on a rocket ship to heaven, so we'll see if that rocket ship blows up in space like some of the ones that have done in recent date. It's steak night tonight in the next room. Who is my 6:30? Okay. I have a Zoom call with some people, and so I don't have a 5:30 or 6. Is that correct? Okay. Any last questions before I leave you? This is a cross between play Monopoly and not boxing.